Hello students, welcome to the first class of software engineering. Note the subject code 18CS35 for semester 3. Let us see the agenda in today's session. So we are going to cover up these topics in today's session. First one is course objective and outcomes. We are going to mainly see what is the main aim or objective or goal of this course to be introduced in your curriculum and what will be the outcome. Finally, what the students will be able to gain regarding this software engineering subject. After that, we are going to learn about what is software, and then we are going to see what is software engineering. We are also going to see the different types of software product available. Also, we are going to discuss about the crisis in this software. And then we are going to see why there is need for software engineering. And also we are going to see the different attributes of a good software. So suppose you say a good software, then what are the qualities or the attributes of such software? And finally, we are going to look into the key challenges facing the software engineering. Let us begin with the course objectives. So your course in this semester is software engineering. What are the objectives of introducing this subject in this particular semester? What is the main aim? So here we have 5 course objectives. We have taken here only 5 course objectives. So each objective will be related to each module. So you have seen the syllabus. So in the syllabus you have 5 modules. So these 5 modules need to be covered. So each module will be specifying one objective. So first one. So first objective, which is in reference to your module 1. So once you study the module 1, what are you going to study in that module 1? So the main objective here is you have to understand the software engineering principles. So mainly first you have to understand what is software engineering, and what are the principles behind software engineering. And also you have to see the various software models, what all models have been used to build your system. And then also we are going to study mainly about this requirement engineering process, where we are going to collect all the essential requirements which are required to build up the system. Second objective will see understand the knowledge of object-oriented concepts. So here somewhere we are going to understand about the object-oriented concept. So nowadays you know that everything is an object. So that object is actually stored in classes. So we are using the concept of objects and classes both. So for system modeling and design problems. So here you will be learning about object-oriented modeling, okay, and also how to represent it. So using different models. Third objective, differentiate system models, use UML diagrams and apply design patterns. So in this module, mainly first you are going to learn about system models which can be used to represent your system. So there can be different models. So one system you can represent it in different models. For that purpose, you are using some of the UML diagrams also. UML is one of the standard graphical notation. And then you can apply design patterns. Design patterns is nothing but suppose you have a problem statement and you want to solve it, then you can apply these design patterns. Fourth objective where you're going to learn about only the testing process. So earlier in first three objectives, you're going to learn about how you're going to develop your software. Okay. Here you're after developing the software, you're going to see how to test the software. So you are clearly going to learn about the entire testing process and even also the evolution process. Nothing but after testing, how you are going to maintain your system for a longer period. Fifth one, understand the project planning methods. So here you need to understand the way of planning a project. So that is more important because according to that schedule only you can complete your project. So you have to understand how to plan the project. So project planning process is important and you have to identify the software quality. So your aim should be not only to deliver the software on the given time, given due date, but you should achieve a good quality software. Good quality software. Now these are the objectives. For these objectives you should have an outcome. So that comes under course outcomes. Now once you have studied all these modules, 5 modules, what are the outcome? First one, so each and every student will be able to explain various software process models. So he or she will be able to identify the different software process models and he can decide which process model he can use for building the system. And also the students will be able to identify the requirements of the software. It can be different requirements like we have functional requirements and we have also have non-functional requirements. Second one is the student will be able to apply the knowledge of object-oriented concepts. And in third one, the student will be able to apply all the graphical models for designing the system, even the design patterns also to represent the models. Fourth one, here the student will be finally able to test the product after it has been developed and will be able to choose effective test cases. So why the test cases are built? Using that test case you can test your system. So it will highlight the errors also if at all it has not been discovered during the development phase. Fifth one, use project planning techniques. So for project planning, so here the student will be able to understand the entire project planning process. So what all techniques are being used here and also will be able to measure the quality of the software built. Let us see what all textbooks you need to refer. First one, it's written by the author Ian Somerville. So this is the famous book actually. So for software engineering, this one book is sufficient in order to understand its concepts. So the title is Software Engineering, 9th edition or more than that, and Pearson Education. Second textbook is Michael Blah, James Rumberg. The textbook name is Object Oriented Modeling and Design with UML. Second edition you can go for. So this textbook is mainly for learning the module 2 and remaining all modules you can refer this textbook. Ian Somerville. Module 1 3, 4, 5, you can refer from this textbook only. But for module 2, which is related to object-oriented concepts, you need to refer the second textbook written by James Ramberg. Now let us see what is software. So as you know, your subject name is software engineering. So I'll begin from the subject name itself and then we'll enter into the major topics of software engineering. So let us begin with the subject name. So your subject name is software engineering. Let me take one term from that, software. What is software? So obviously you have written a C program. You have executed it. So software is nothing but collection of programs, you can tell. So software is a set of instructions or data or programs used to operate computers and execute specific tasks. So software is nothing but collection of programs collection of programs mainly executed in order to perform some task. So it is going to perform some task. So for example, simple example I can take which you are using always. So you are using that software always is your Microsoft Office, correct? So in that you have Word, PPT or Excel, etc. Okay. So there the software is actually nothing but those softwares are actually collection of programs. Okay. So when you put into the computer and start to use it, so it will perform some tasks like Word document, you can create a file there. Excel, you can do some certain calculations. So for that various purposes you can use it. Next. So you can see these are the different software examples. You have Adobe Reader is one software. Then even the browsers, Firefox, that is another software. Skype. Then Gtalk, Yahoo, VLC Media Player, that is also a software which is used to mainly used to watch the videos. Then Internet Explorer is another software, your web browser. This is Java. Then Google Chrome, you have Google Chrome. Then this is a music player. And some of the Windows software which I have told is one is the Office, Microsoft Office. So here you have the Excel sheet. Here this is the Word, W means Word. Here it is the PowerPoint. Many other like that, okay. So and the different browsers are also there. This is the Google Chrome, Firefox, etc. Windows software. Okay, now we'll come to the main point. You know what is software now. So software is collection of programs needed to execute some task on your system. So now we'll see the different types of software product. Okay, we have completed what is software. We'll see the different types of software product. First type is generic products. Generic products. And second one is customized or bespoke products. So we have two types, keep in mind, generic products, and second one is customized or bespoke products. We'll see into each one now. Generic products, the term itself will get to know, generic. So it is developed for a range of different customers. It's like for the whole population it is built. So those are the software products which are developed for the whole population, I can tell. For example, you have PC software such as MS Excel, Microsoft Office you have. Everyone can use it. So everyone has on their system and they use it. So normally Word, Excel, PPTs used by everyone. Then Gmail. This is also being used in order to see the messages, mails received, and also they can send the mails etc. So this is also used by all kind of people. Second one is customized or bespoke products. So you can see the term customized. So from this term you can tell it's related to customer. These type of products you are developing for a particular customer based on their request. So for example, you have some mobile banking apps, correct? Now you have Canara Bank means if you have account in Canara Bank, then you have a Canara Bank app, you can use it. Yeah, so you have certain mobile banking apps to do the online transactions on. So this is actually developed for a single customer. So this Canara Bank app is for Canara Bank account holders, not for other bank. Keep in mind. So on their request, like that for other bank, which one we have? Yeah, HDFC, etc. So it's developed for a single customer according to their specification you have designed. So I've told that if you have Canara Bank app, then all those specifications in designing that app is given by the Canara Bank people. Okay. So these are the two types of software product: generic product and customized product. Now we'll come to the term software engineering. What is software engineering? Software engineering is an engineering discipline. So you know there are different engineering disciplines: mechanical engineering, computer science engineering, electrical engineering, etc. So software engineering is also one engineering discipline, one branch of engineering I can tell. So that is concerned with all aspects of software production. So it includes all aspects of software production means it starts from the early stage where you start developing your product to the end. So it's like from initial conception to operation and maintenance. So you start from the initial stage. Initial stage I can tell is where first you are keep collecting all the requirements or creating a specification, and then finally you're going to the last stage, that is maintenance phase. So these many stages are included in software production. This is software engineering. It is an engineering discipline that is concerned with all aspects of software production. So mainly, finally you're developing the software product. So it includes all the stages of that development life cycle. So which are the stages? I'll just show here. You have software engineering. So first one, it can be analyze, then planning. So you need to first analyze what system do you need to build. So you have to see its specifications. Then you have to do proper planning for it. How do you plan for building the product? Next, development, coding. So in that, implementation, programming. Then you have design. You have to build architecture for your system or some design models. Then once it is developed, go for testing. In that, verification and validation process needs to be done. Verification and validation process needs to be done. What is the difference between software engineering and computer science? Now, this is our question. What is the difference between software engineering and computer science? See here, I told that software engineering is an engineering discipline. Even your computer science is also an engineering discipline. Then what is the difference? In computer science engineering, it is concerned with theories and fundamentals. So there you're just studying the theories and the fundamentals of the concepts in computer science. And in software engineering, it's like concerned with the practicalities of developing and delivering useful software. So anything in software engineering is practically done. So you will learn how to practically develop a software and deliver it. What is the difference? Computer science engineering, you're going to learn about all the theories or the algorithms or the fundamentals. And in software engineering, you are going to apply those theories which you have learned. Okay, theories or methodologies, those or algorithms you are going to apply, and practically you are trying to build a software and deliver it. Next is software crisis. So now we are going to study about software crisis. This is important topic. So software crisis means what? What does this term indicate? Crisis. So you have heard of this word, so crisis. So when there is crisis, when there was crisis in the software, so it's a term used to describe the difficulty of writing useful and efficient computer programs in the required time. So what does it mean? See, this software crisis is a term, when you are using this term, when there was the difficulty of writing very efficient programs, computer programs, in the required time. So that term or the terminology we use to describe is software crisis. So it is the stage where there is difficulty in writing efficient computer programs in the required moment. So what might be the major causes of this software crisis? This is important. Major causes. First thing is either your software which was built was very inefficient, might be in terms of performance. Okay, so it might have been very inefficient. Second one, software was of low quality. Yeah, whatever software you have built is of low quality, might be. Then third one, software may not have met the all the requirements, did not meet the requirements, so may not have met all the essential requirements. That might be the chance for the crisis. And fourth one is lack of communication. So they either we can tell who is developing the software, that is the developer and the customer, they may not have proper communication between them, so everything may not have been clear, very clear. Okay, then other reasons can be like projects running over budget. Actually, the budget was defined in the early stage only, but your project had started running over budget. Also, projects running over time. Suppose the duration given for delivering the software was 1 year and you had taken more than 2 years. So your project is running over time. So there is more loss. So that's why that's the crisis. Then projects were unmanageable and code difficult to maintain. That might be the reason for the crisis. Sometimes the software was never delivered. That situation also has been appeared. Clear? So these are the major causes of software crisis. Now we'll just see an example for the software crisis situation. That is, we have Y2K problem. So through this problem, you'll understand what is the software crisis. See, Y2K problem means Y stands for year, and 2K means 2000. Year 2000 problem. Now I hope you have understood it. But we'll take this real life example. So this problem arose when the processing dates were considered after the year 2000. Okay. So thing is, earlier before 2000, you think any year 1995, how it was stored in your computer system, the developers, they have designed in such a way that they're storing the date in they were trying to store the date in such a way that it is shortened. It was actually 4-digit year, isn't it? 4-digit year, 1987 you take, it was shortened to 2-digit area. So they were thinking about the space capacity, and they have designed in such a way that. So this, if it is 1987, it has been shortened to 87, two-digit format, 87, because of limited memory, and also that storage was expensive at that time, so they had shortened it to two-digit format. So 1987 became to 87. Now when it was the 2000 year came, then it was shortened to 00. So now what happened? At that time, they did not realize that that year 2000 will be shortened to 00. 00 means it will be less than 72, for example. Yeah, the year 72. So here the problem arise was they were not, the system was not able, system, I mean the program, whatever program they had written, was not actually able to distinguish between the year 1900 and 2000, isn't it? So the programs which were written for this purpose were not able to distinguish between 1900 and 2000. So that was the major failure. So this is the major drawback. So this caused complete failure and also incorrect results to be produced. So 00, if the year is there, we don't know whether it is 1900 or 2000 or 1800, like that. So now it is in the 1990s, experts began to realize this major shortcoming in the computer application, but later they realized this problem and they started to resolve it, and then millions were spent, millions of money were spent to handle this problem mainly. So this is one software crisis. Next, we'll see about need for software engineering. So I told that now why this subject is necessary for you to learn. So why there is need for software engineering? When I tell, you know that software engineering is a theory subject, all of you know that, and you think that why this subject is needed. It's of no use. But if the software engineering subject is used throughout your lifetime, I can tell. Once you enter the IT industry, you will get to know about it. So now in brief, we'll see what is the need for software engineering. Software engineering is important because you know that you need to develop software products, and these software products are essential in every, they are required in every type of industry, not only in software industry, other, it can be either in education sector or in business field or in industrial sector. So all different sectors you need softwares to be developed. So I can tell software engineering is very important. Software is mainly found in products and situations where very high reliability is expected. So where very high reliability is expected. Now for example, now we'll take just a simple example of bank. Earlier, what you would do, you would go to bank, you would go to bank and deposit the money or withdraw the money. Isn't it? Anything you had to go to the bank. And later what came was your ATM system. So without the manager or anything, cashier, you can draw the money. And after that, more easier ways, you can sit at home and do online transaction. So, but see, look here, majority of people are using now that online transactions. Those are nothing but softwares built. This, whatever you're doing, online transactions are nothing but the software programs built for that purpose. So you also know that they are very secure. Somewhere your money is not being lost, isn't it? Even when you cancel any product, the payment made for any product, immediately the refund is also done, isn't it? So your account is more secured. You feel that it's secured, so no one can hack it. So that's why, see how essential this software engineering is. So this is the major advantage. So that's why people find the need for software engineering. Second one, in the case of monitoring and controlling nuclear power plants stations, okay, there also we are using software systems. Where it is, you might be thinking why we are using this software. No, to control all those nuclear power plant units, those are hardware units. Software systems are built to control those hardware units. So the main thing is that's why there is no security issue or anything is not going to damage to your environment or the people working in that place. Next, we'll see the attributes of a good software. Now, here main thing is you have to build a software. You're building a software, I'm telling, but one thing keep in mind, you have to build in such a way that good quality is being achieved. So you have to get a good quality software because it is the people expectation. Any app if you are using, you'll be very happy to use it because nowadays you have Paytm, then you have GP. People are happy because the quality in the sense like the performance you can tell. So it's all are very good. So that's why people will prefer such type of softwares. So we will see what should be the attributes of a good software. Attributes of a good software. First one is maintainability. Maintainability. So first one is maintainability. Maintainability. What do you mean by that one? Software should evolve to meet the changing needs of the customer even after being developed. See, think that you have developed the software and you have delivered it to the customer, or you have put it into the market for use. So people have started using it, but your work is not done. You might think that after development and delivering the software, the job is done. No, maintainability. You need to maintain your system. So that is one of the attribute of your software, whether you can maintain your system or not. So what does it mean? That you need to see that your system should be able to update or modify. You can update your system or modify your system to meet the changing needs of the customer. The thing is, the needs or the requirements keep on changing. You know that the business requirements, if you consider, they keep on changing. It doesn't remain constant. Like for example, now you have iPhones with you. So when the first version of the iPhone was released, people were crazed and they took the iPhone, isn't it? So whether the developers who developed it uh, stopped with only the first release of iPhone? No, they started with the next release. Why? There was demand. People they started using it, and there is a feedback section also. So people started giving the reviews. They would have given some suggestions. They started giving suggestions. Still more, what features if you add, it would have been better for them. So now what are suggestions or modifications they will take from them, and they have to update to the same system. Only thing is the release will be next version, that's all. Okay, so that is the thing. Even suppose one software, I'll take Java software. So Java software, if you want to install on your system, you should have the package JDK package, JDK tool. So JDK tool first version was JDK 1.0. Now, if I today's date, if I see JDK 13 or 14 is available. So they didn't stop till JDK 1. What was that in next JDK 2? New features. To the same one, new features they have added. So main thing is you're not going to build a new system. Again, if you are trying to build a new system, lot of rework is there. Lot of rework is there. So just you're updating it with some new features. Another example is your WhatsApp. WhatsApp you use, isn't it? Huh? How many times you update your WhatsApp? Same thing. That refers maintainability. Okay, second one, we have two terms, dependability and security. So here, when I consider dependable software, it includes wide range of characteristics such as reliability, security, safety. So we have you have to see how reliable your system is, okay, and how much secured it is, how much safety does it provide to the people in that, or to the environment. So it's not going to harm your environment or any people involved in it. So you need to see that one also. Okay, this is for softwares which are using to control hardware systems. Like I told, nuclear power plants. So there, when you are using software, you need to see how reliable it is and how much secured it is. And safety is very, very important because you should not cause any harm to the people. Okay. Next, efficiency. This is very important. Efficiency, I can tell your software should be efficient, means in terms of performance. The time taken, the less it takes the time to process, that is much good software. Responsiveness, it should respond in a fraction of seconds. Memory utilization, also you should not utilize so much of memory. Okay. And the fourth one is acceptability. Here where you have to come to a stage that you can accept the software. You're going to accept the software or not. So software should be acceptable to the type of users for whom it is being designed. Now you have to see that whatever software you build should be acceptable by the people who have actually requested for such type of software to be designed. Now we'll discuss about the key challenges facing software engineering. So what are the key challenges facing software engineering? First one, heterogeneity challenge. Second one is business and social challenge. And third one is trust and security. Trust and security. Okay, we'll see one by one in this case. First one is heterogeneity challenge. Heterogeneity challenge. First challenge is heterogeneity challenge. So the term heterogeneous means it's a mixture, many or different, you can tell. So what is this challenge? See, systems are usually required to operate as distributed systems across network. Finally, correct? So systems are usually required to operate as distributed systems over networks that include different types of computer. You can have different types of computers and mobile devices. So over the network, different types of computers can be used, and even the mobile. So different types, when I say computer, someone might be using Windows operating system, or someone might be using Linux, some other might be using Macintosh, and mobile devices you might be having Android, iOS, or iPhone. So finally, you have to treat all these as distributed systems, and these will be put over the network. So there will be interconnection there. So we have to integrate new software with older legacy systems written in different programming languages. What does it mean that? We have to integrate our new software, whatever software is built, with the older legacy systems. So legacy term means old. So legacy systems are called as old systems. So you have to integrate the new software with the older systems. These older systems may be written in different programming language. Okay. So that is the heterogeneity challenge. So it is the challenge to build dependable software to cope up with the heterogeneous systems. So we should cope up with this heterogeneous systems. Okay. So you have to develop techniques for building dependable software that is flexible enough to cope up with this heterogeneity. Second one is business and social change. When I consider this one, business and social change, day by day new technologies emerge. So there will be change in the business and the society. The requirements of the business also changes. They want a new things to be implemented. They need to change their existing software and develop a new one. So they come forward to change their software and develop a new one. Most of the traditional software engineering techniques, if you consider the earlier software engineering techniques, they are very time consuming. It's like they are slow process. The traditional software engineering techniques are very time consuming. Means they are very slow process, and that's why the delivery of that software is delayed there. So here you need to, this is one of the key challenge faced by software engineering. So thing is, you should have the idea in which you have to develop the software in a faster way and deliver it in a faster way. So not much of time you must consume there. So you need not waste more of time in developing the software. So you have to utilize the time and try to deliver the software on the given scheduled date. So it's necessary for the business to deliver the software to customers on the expected time. So that is also very important thing in business. So you want to have a good business means you have to agree to the terms of the customer and try to deliver it on the expected time. So that is one another key challenge. First key challenge is you have heterogeneous system, so you have to try to integrate your new software with those systems. Second, and business change, you know that it keeps on changing, so you have to build a software according to their needs. Okay, and main thing is you have to deliver the software to customers on the expected time. Next, third one is trust and security. Trust and security. So here, main thing is you have developed the software, but the software developed should be trusted by its users. It should be trusted. So it should be trustworthy. The software should not be attacked by malicious users. So it should not be hacked, okay, and it should not be attacked by any malicious users, and they should not try to gain your some of the very essential information, okay. So therefore the security of the information should be maintained. Security should be there. So your the integrity of the information should not be gone. So these are the different key challenges facing software engineering. So trust and security, keep in mind that whatever software you develop should be trusted by its users who are using the system. The software should not be easily attacked by some malicious users, and they try to introduce some virus and try to gain some of the credential information. Okay, so your information must not be lost anywhere. So these are the different key challenges facing software engineering. So we have covered up almost all the topics in this video session. As you have seen, first we have seen the objectives and outcomes, then definition of software, software engineering, different types of software product we have seen. One is generic, another one is customized. Then we have seen about the software crisis, that is year 2000 problem. And also we have seen why there is need for software engineering, because software products are required in almost all type of industries. And also we have seen the different attributes of a good software. If you want to say you want to have a good software, good quality software means it should have these all attributes which we have seen: maintainability, availability, dependability and security, efficiency, all. And finally, we have discussed about the key challenges facing software engineering. So what are the key challenges? One is heterogeneity challenge, second one business change, and third one is trust and security. So your software should overcome all these challenges. Thank you.